preparing to go live.
Good evening. I'll call to order the regular council meeting for Monday, June the 28th, 2021. I'd like to recognize that we're conducting our business today on the unceded and traditional lands of the Stalo people, particularly the Shawathel, Shwahamel, Peters, Yale, Union Bar, and Skowluck First Nations. First item is that the June 28th, 2021 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented. Moved and second. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Next item is the adoption of the minutes, the regular council meeting, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held June 14th, 2021 be adopted as presented. Moved and second. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Next item is that the District of Hope record of a public hearing held June 14th, 2021 be received. Moved. Second. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have two delegations tonight. Our first delegation is a presentation from Advantage Hope, and the Economic Development Officer, Chantal Ouellette, is in attendance to guide us through it. Good evening, Chantal. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. I'm just going to give it a second for my presentation to show up.
Okay.
Perfect. And you're just in presentation mode, so I can see the two slides if you can. I think typically if you go under display settings at the top, you might be able to put it at the one slide. Also, you're on mute if you're trying to say anything.
Yeah, across the top bar is display settings. Very top.
Perfect.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you. So for those that I haven't had the chance to meet in person yet, my name is Chantal Ouellette, and I'm the Economic Development Officer for Advantage Hope. And if you can go to the next slide, please. I've been in this position since January 5th of this year, and this is my first time at a council meeting, so thank you for having me. And the reason that you might have not seen me any sooner is just because I'm still within my 6-month probationary period. And if I'm successful in completing my 6-month probationary period in a couple of weeks now, we plan on doing a more official introduction for myself to the community. Until then, what I can do is I can show you a quick little introduction that I did at Advantage Hope's AGM on April 8th of this year. So if we can hopefully go to the next slide, and hopefully the video works. Now I've got no sound. I don't know if anybody else can hear anything, but still nothing, unless maybe if you try to unmute yourself, John. If it doesn't work, then I can reintroduce myself.
Does that work?
No sound still.
I think we may have to move past this slide.
Sure, no problem. So what I'll do then, I'll just do a very brief introduction. I'll just reread what I had said at the AGM a few weeks ago. So hello again, my name is Chantal Ouellette, and I'm the Economic Development Officer for Advantage Hope as of January this year. I moved here all the way from Ontario. The drive took about 5 days, but it was so worth it because this community is incredible. And being a small town girl, I feel like I'm fitting right in. Before I started this position, I was a business development consultant for the Business Enterprise Centre in Timmins in Northern Ontario. I was there for 3 years, and I worked directly with small and medium-sized business owners to either help them start, expand, or purchase businesses. This meant assisting them with business plans, helping them secure funding, providing business advice, and connecting them with other professionals based on their needs. I also facilitated a few entrepreneurship programs for adults and students and developed important working relationships with various stakeholders. I was also responsible for marketing and promoting the Business Enterprise Center services to our catchment area, which consisted of 6 different municipalities. There's also a large French population in Northern Ontario, and by being bilingual, I was a key contact for the organization as I could serve all of our clients in the language of their choice. In my previous position, I also had the opportunity to complete many courses with the Economic Development Association of Canada, and I now have my economic development certification and am actively working towards obtaining my designation, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. Before working for the Business Enterprise Center, I was a student at Nipissing University in North Bay, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree with a specialization in marketing. We have a lot of exciting projects for the next few months and years for Hope, and many of which you can find in our strategic plan. And right now, our focus is to complete the tools for our toolbox, such as our Advantage Hope website and investor and resident packages. And these will act as stepping stones for other future projects. So again, I'm really excited to be part of this wonderful community, and I am looking forward for what's to come. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Perfect. So this evening, I'm here to review phase 2 and 3 of the community signage plan proposal. And just a quick reminder, Advantage Hope's role with the project is to advocate for its implementation, and it will be the District of Hope's responsibility to implement the plan. Now, a quick overview. In March 2019, Advantage Hope completed the community signage plan and design standards through the Rural Dividend Fund grant project. In October of 2019, the community signage plan was adopted by Council. On August 24th, 2020, Advantage Hope presented a 3-phased approach report to Council for signage development and installation. Phase 1 of the signage plan was adopted by Council, and authorization was given to expand the district road sign account by $5,076. Thank you. And on August 24th, phase 2 and 3 were also adopted with the intention to be completed by the end of 2022, funding and annual budget dependent. In October of 2020, Advantage Hope applied for the Community Economic Recovery Infrastructure Program grant, but was not selected for funding, unfortunately. And this is because the chosen projects for that specific grant focused on trail development and tourism activity provider infrastructure to assist with outdoor recreation for COVID-19 recovery. And so that brings us to today, June 28th, where Advantage Hope is seeking funds from the COVID Restart account to complete phases 2 and 3 of the community signage plan. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, the public engagement process was facilitated by the Economic Recovery Committee, which I will now refer to as the ERC. The ERC was facilitated by Advantage Hope and was formed to address the effects of COVID-19 and to create a response and recovery plan. The ERC was comprised of 32 community stakeholders, which included 6 government representatives, 9 service clubs, and 17 businesses. The ERC identified community signage as a top priority for economic recovery to assist directing traffic to our local businesses and attractions, but it is also in accordance with the 5-year economic development strategy and the District of Hope's integrated official community plan goals 3, 4, and 11. Also, Advantage Hope created a sign plan survey to help the ERC identify top signage priorities and to receive customized feedback. Next slide, please. The Economic Recovery Committee and the District of Hope recognize the importance of acknowledging Indigenous culture and historical significance within the land that we live, work, and play. There is great opportunity to include Halkamalam language on gateway and information portal signage. Now, there's no Indigenous content on the existing signage plan. However, the recommendation for this addition has already been approved by Council. Another thing to note is that a conversation has already been started with the Arts Gallery to incorporate them in the signage plan as well, if possible. Next slide, please. Now, as you might recall, phase 1 of the signage plan consisted of vehicle wayfinding. There are 16 proposed locations, and this is currently ongoing. And the purpose of vehicle wayfinding is to direct vehicle traffic to community highlights. Next slide, please. Phase 2 of the plan consists of information portals. Now, we already have one of these located in the Japanese Gardens, and we're looking to have 3 others, one at Kakwa Lake Park, one at Sham Lake Rest Stop, as well as Coquihalla Canyon Park. Each structure will cost approximately $25,000 for a total approximate cost just shy of $76,000. And the purpose of these is to orient pedestrians to nearby town amenities and provide general information. Next slide, please. Lastly, phase 3 of the signage plan consists of gateway signage, and there are 9 proposed locations. Each custom gateway sign will approximately cost $25,000 for a total of $225,000. And another thing to note as well is that the District of Hope has agreed to complete scheduled maintenance to preserve the positive effects created by this enhanced signage plan. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of the next steps, Advantage Hope would like to propose to the District of Hope that a portion of COVID restart funding be designated for the completion of phase 2 and 3 of the community signage plan. Total estimated cost is approximately $300,990 and is subject to change. And that being said, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for your presentation, Chantel. I would, there we go. I can see all of council again. Does anyone have any questions for Chantel? Well, I guess you get it. Oh, Councillor Stewin. Thank you.
Chantel, is there any way that you could make a commitment that you will include the Hulkamalum? And also, is there a consideration to add the EV charging stations to your signage so that our visitors know exactly where they can go?
I believe the Hulkamalum language has already been approved by council, so that is moving forward. It's just a matter of getting it done. And as for the EV charging stations, I can definitely make note of it and talk with our team and see what's possible. That is definitely a good suggestion, so I'll make note of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And one more thing, I'm sorry. How do the people on, I'm gonna call it a rock, because that's what it appears to for me, the sign, how do they put the names on there? Like, how are those people chosen?
That's a great question. I don't have the details for that specifically because our role is to advocate for the implementation of the project itself. So we're not designing any of the structures, but again, I can look into it and I can get back to you.
I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Stewin. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Chantel. Look forward to your next visit to council, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next presentation and delegation is from Mr. Dave Underwood, who is the engineer from True Consulting, to talk to us about our sewer master plan. There he is. Mr. Underwood, it's all yours.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. It's been a while since I've presented to council, so it's great to see everybody again. As mentioned, yeah, my name is Dave Underwood, professional engineer at True Consulting. I've been assisting the district with various infrastructure improvement projects, including the preparation of the sanitary sewer master plan, which was actually completed about a year ago, almost to the day. But with COVID and the complications associated therewith, it's been a bit of a delay in presenting the document to everybody, but happy to be here tonight to do so. John, if you want to pull up the presentation. Perfect, thank you. So as mentioned, this is just a brief overview of the sanitary sewer master plan that was prepared approximately 1 year ago. Lots of, I think, mostly good news here to share tonight with everybody. I'll try to keep it relatively brief, but obviously welcome any questions toward the end. If you want to go to the next slide. So the scope of the project, the objective essentially was to establish the capacity and any shortcomings of the existing sanitary sewer infrastructure, identify any future requirements, evaluate any alternatives that may exist, and to present any cost estimates and phasing associated with the improvements. Ultimately, the objective is to provide the district with clear direction on the status of the wastewater utility and direction on future capital expenditures. Next slide, please. This figure illustrates the extent of the district's wastewater collection and force main system. The red are the gravity sewers. So you get a sense for the scope of the network. And there's about 50 kilometers for the gravity sewer mains in the asset database for the district. There are also 11 municipal lift stations that are depicted there as black squares. And they pump wastewater from topographical low points to higher elevation. The black dashed are the force mains, the pressurized mains that would extend from the pumping stations to the gravity sewers or the pollution control center, which is illustrated kind of bottom left. Next slide, please. Just a brief history. In the 1960s, the first sewers were constructed in the town of Hope. 1970s, trunk sewers constructed to a new treatment plant at Silver Creek, and sewers constructed in the Copper Lake area. In the 1980s, sewers were constructed in the Silver Creek area. 1980 was the original construction of the Pollution Control Center and outfall into the Fraser River. 1993, the district took responsibility for the Pollution Control Center from the regional district. 1999, a third treatment cell was added to the PCC. And in 2017, 2018, PCC, the lagoons were reconfigured, aeration system replaced, dissolved air filtration system constructed. I'll get to that a little later on in a bit more detail. Next slide, please. So the gravity sewer network is comprised primarily of asbestos cement and PVC materials. The asbestos cement is about 35 kilometers out of the 50, shown in blue. Constructed, as you see, primarily in the 1960s, 70s, and in the 1980s. The PVC is about 13 kilometers out of the 50, and that's shown in red. And that was constructed, as you can see, on average about 2 kilometers per decade, starting in the 1970s. Next slide, please. In terms of the pressurized pipe, the force mains, the majority of the force mains were constructed in the 1970s and 1980s. Pipe material used in the 1970s was primarily ductile iron and HDPE, high density polyethylene. And as you can see, in 1980, there were 4 different pipe materials utilized to construct force mains. And beginning in the year 2000, thereabouts, all new force mains were comprised of HDPE. Next slide, please. The topography of Hope is such that it is necessary to pump sewage to the wastewater treatment plant and away from topographical low points. As mentioned, there are 11 lift stations under the jurisdiction of the municipality. There are also some private lift stations pumping to the district's collection system, but those private systems are not owned or maintained by the district. Next slide. And next slide. The physical condition of the lift stations was undertaken, that physical condition assessment was undertaken in 2019. In general, the lift stations were found to be in good condition, apart from small package lift stations, such as the one shown here, which suffer from non-structural corrosion. But ultimately, the lift stations were found to be in good order. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates some of the details associated with the main lift stations in Hope. And at first glance, one can see that the Coquihalla station at the bottom there of the list is clearly the largest station equipped with the largest horsepower of 88 horsepower. It's also the most heavily utilized, as seen on the far right, which is 7 hours per day on average, and thereby is associated with probably the most critical asset in terms of pumping stations within the district. Next slide, please. As a component to the sanitary sewer master planning work, computer modeling was undertaken to assess the capacity of the district's network. The modeling predicts the flow capacity of the network based on existing and future flows, and it then identifies existing or future deficiencies. Key observations from the network modeling is that most of the network has good capacity. However, there are some pipe segments and lift stations that are near their capacity. Next slide, please. As shown on this slide, the total flow exiting the wastewater plant, which is shown in blue dots, correlates quite closely to precipitation, which is the black bars at the top. So the long black bars represent rainfall, and you can see that the blue dots rise almost associated very closely with the rainfall, which identifies that there is some correlation between rainfall and flow from the wastewater treatment plant. In fact, the plant outflow can increase 2 to 3 times the average flow during these rainfall events. The computer network model that we completed to assess the capacity of the system did make an allowance for some influence from inflow and infiltration during rain events, I, as I'll refer to it, inflow and infiltration. However, it is recommended the district undertake a formal inflow and infiltration reduction program. The first step in that regard is to equip each lift station to record additional data points. And the district has initiated this program by its SCADA system improvements program. Next slide, please. Overall, the gravity sewer system performs well under future conditions. Future network model suggests that only 4 pipe segments will exceed the district's performance criteria of flowing a maximum of 75% full, as shown in red. And this future network scenario is based on approximately 40 years of growth in accordance with the official community plan. Given the conservative inputs put forward in the model, however, upgrades of those segments is not recommended at this time, and instead, additional flow monitoring and I&I analysis is recommended to confirm the requirements for these upgrades. Those would be the 4 in question that would be watched carefully. Next slide, please. In terms of the pumping stations, there is adequate capacity under existing conditions. As illustrated at the bottom of Coquihalla, we look at that one in particular, you can see that its peak flow at that station is 80 liters per second. And the capacity of that station is approximately 110 liters per second. So it's about 75% of its capacity at this time. Under future conditions, that particular station approaches 90% of its available capacity. And as mentioned, the recommendation here would be just additional data points be collected to confirm the flow rates. And that would be done by the SCADA improvement project. So that would be sort of next step, but eventually there may be improvements required at the Coquihalla station. The other stations will have adequate capacity remaining as future development unfolds. Next slide, please. The physical condition of the gravity system can be understood by undertaking CCTV inspection of the mains. Approximately 6 kilometers of sewer mains have been inspected in the period since 2015, and this work is ongoing. Next slide, please. What we found is that what the district's found in completing that work is that the older concrete sewers and private laterals built before 1970s are prone to leakage by way of either cracks, leaking joints, or root intrusion, or unsealed manhole barrel joints. Newer PVC has found to be and should continue to be relatively leak-free, but the older network is certainly prone to leakage and likely the source of some of the I&I, as noticed, is correlating with rainfall events. Next slide, please. So in terms of network improvements, with time, based on the condition of the infrastructure, there's obviously pipe replacement as an option. Depending on what's found, trenchless repair methods can be undertaken as well. And an annual budget for sewer replacement in coordination with road resurfacing and water main replacement is recommended. Next slide, please. 2017-2018 improvements were undertaken at the PCC. Those improvements consisted of lagoon desludging, reconfiguration of the lagoons to run in series, and aeration system replacement. Next slide, please. It also included the addition of a dissolved air flotation process to address total suspended solids, especially during periods of high algae growth. Next slide, please. In terms of performance, since completion of the improvements, the plant has met and exceeds regulatory requirements in terms of what you see on this slide, which is called carbonaceous biochemical oxygen demand. The blue dots and the solid red line at the bottom being the CBOD quarterly average are below the two criteria, whether it be federal through WSER or provincial through MWR. Next slide, please. And in terms of total suspended solids, same thing. There obviously was there's taken a bit of time to commission then dial in the dissolved air flotation equipment, but that equipment is operating well now and is allowing the district to have quarterly average below the thresholds to regulatory criteria. Next slide, please. In terms of future improvements, additional improvements that would be beneficial at the PCC would include implementation of a headwork screen at the inflow to the plant. Next slide. A permanent outfall into the Fraser River. Next slide, please. And eventual disposal of the dewatered biosolids that are being dewatered presently on site. Next slide, please. In terms of costs, the headworks and improved flow meters estimated to be approximately $650,000. Permanent outfall approximately $690,000, and sludge disposal estimated at $900,000. Next slide, please. Additional network improvements and associated costs would be the lift station and PCC SCADA improvements estimated to be $600,000. A flow meter from the Nestle wastewater service, $20,000. Annual budgets for sewer lining rehabilitation, approximately $100,000 per year. Annual flow monitoring program and reporting, approximately $40,000 per year. And eventual extension of service within the Silver Creek area is to be determined based on scope of projects. Next slide, please. Lastly, in the last part of our scope associated with this project was to complete a sewer connection bylaw on behalf of the district. Commercial and industrial waste can have a disproportionate impact on sewers, wastewater treatment plant capacity. So it's important that there's a bylaw that can control new and additional commercial industrial waste streams at time of development proposal. So that work's being done for the district's consideration. And with that, I would welcome any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. There, council's back. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Underwood? You always get the exciting things to present to council. Yeah. No. Oh, Councillor Smith, go ahead.
I see on the outflow there that we did a temporary construction for it. What is the cost to, do a permanent one, or what is needed for that? Because we've been like that since what, 2017? Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. So that cost estimate that was included in the slides, I think $690,000. That would be the permanent. That would be the permanent outfall.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? You're getting off easy, Mr. Underwood. Thank you for your presentation, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
No troubles at all. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Okay.
Moving on, the next item is from staff reports. I turn it over to our CEO, John Fardalowski, to talk about the annual report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you have before you a quick report. This is an annual legislative activity whereby we produce and present to council a draft annual report. It's then put out for public consultation and comment, and then it comes back to council for approval and ultimate publication. You did see this previously with the Director of Finance, Mr. Cordes, and included in your package is a hard copy of the final annual report for 2020.
Thank you. So the motion reads that council approve the 2020 annual report. Moved and second. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. I do think when all this COVID restrictions are over, by looking in that report, we need to get together as a council and have a new photograph taken. It's been a lot of changes since we had that done. There's no committee reports tonight. Moving on to mayor and council reports. A small report tonight. I attended the Indigenous House Post ceremony at Coquihalla and Silver Creek schools. It was very interesting. The carvings are at the entrances to the schools to show that all members of the community are welcome and they will be safe. In light of the recent findings and revelations about residential schools, we as a community need to acknowledge the atrocities that took place and support our Indigenous neighbors during their time of grief. Moving on to Fraser Health, I had my weekly update with the CAO. We are currently in last place for vaccinating among our neighboring communities, which is Chilliwack, Harrison, and Agassiz. We're at 70%. So we'd like to get that at least to 74 to 75 to be closer to what the average is for the province. And just a reminder that as your second shot time becomes available, please don't hesitate to get it done. The double shot will give you the full protection that's required. And there is no clinic this Thursday because it's a holiday. You get more information next week to confirm the following Thursday. I attended the Fraser Valley Regional District Board and Hospital Board meeting. Nothing new to pass on to the community at this time. I attended the AGM for the Sunshine Valley Ratepayers Association. I got an invitation. I thought I'd go up and see what's going on in their community. I appreciated them including me. And I thanked them on our behalf and council and acknowledged their support of our local businesses. A lot of the residents, or most of the residents, come down and shop in our community, and they're an important part of our community. And they're growing quickly. They have another 30 lots coming online in the next 2 weeks. So their population is growing as well. So it was good to get an update from the Sunshine Valley Ratepayers. That's the end of my report tonight. Moving on, can we start with Councillor Medlock tonight, please?
We can, and I really have no report other than the same thing I reported last meeting, is that the Canada Day car tour of the community is going on Thursday, 10 o'clock. Everybody should be meeting at the bus shelter. It's going out went out in the newspaper with the map, and I'll have maps there to hand out to those participants that want to show up. So should be a fun way to have people come and enjoy a tour of our community.
And it looks like it's going to be a lot warmer than last year. A whole lot warmer. Councillor Victor Smith, please.
Thank you, Worship. Library happenings. The library will not be looking to return to welcome groups in the library until at least September, at which time they'll review before moving forward. Just want to make sure we're being safe. I attended the first retreat at Abbotsford for the library board. It's the first one in a year we've had a face-to-face. We discussed budgets, also fines for late fees, safety protocol, and the new ways in which the library will be operating in the future. We are definitely changing. Also, with the summer ahead, kids and families will look forward to the free BC Summer Reading Club online and check it out at our library. The program is for kids from 5 to 14. There's contests, videos, quizzes, and more. Check it out. Also this week, interesting, Echo Johnson had an article in last week's Hope Standard with former Mayor Bud Gardner talking about their dad, Jim Fontaine, who was a former alderman, plus many groups in Hope that he was a major part of. He's one of the founding members of the Hope Brigade Days and was a driving force to get it started. I'm looking for pictures to include him, Ken James, and the group of the people that started Brigade Days. If somebody can get a hold of me, I will return the picture, but I'd love to get it. I think it's a very important part of our history. I attended the Purple Light meeting to discuss ideas for this year's October. Communities in Bloom is moving forward with the world-class chainsaw event, October 19th to 22nd in Memorial Park. This event will be a tribute to Hope's own Pete Ryan. Sunday night, I was down there at the Tesla plug-in by the hotel, and there was 12 people waiting to get plugged in, 12 on the waiting list watching people in. So within a month, there will be 10 new Tesla stations up and running at Silver Creek Travel Center. So we'll have more coming on board. There definitely is more out there happening. And with the Canada Day holidays coming on, I'm asking everybody, please try and be careful with the fires and that. 88% of the 337 wildfires that occurred since April 1st were all caused by people. So if we can just be a little careful, try and save our area and everything, I'd appreciate that. So anyway, have a good Canada holiday and thank you very much.
Here we go. Sorry about that. Councillor Stewin, please.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. So along the same lines, I also attended the house post ceremony at the Silver Creek Elementary School on June 23rd. And I was asked to be a witness and to speak about what I saw. And it's very emotional for me for some reason, and I don't know why, but I get very choked up about this because of the history of school and education for Indigenous people. And the house posts are beautiful. They're designed to include our nations and the Métis, the Tuatha, Shwahamo people, and to be a welcoming source for students and parents to attend schools. So I'm very glad to have been present and to honor that and to be a part of making schools a safe place. I also attended a sacred ceremony at the 650 Coquille Lake Road, which is the school district's office. It was discovered that there were pit houses and an ancestral burial site in another location close to the school board office. So I attended that, and Stephen Point was there providing the service. We walked and stood there, and it was extremely emotional. And then afterwards, we enjoyed a meal together, and they told about how the community, which at that time was called Takal, which doesn't mean hope, it means bald. And the reason is because of the way the wind blows, it makes one side of the tree bald. And so that's where the name came from. Again, another emotional ceremony, and just a reminder that a lot happened that a lot of the community is not aware of. So I'm very proud to have been a part of that ceremony as well. And I also just want to make a I don't know, personal announcement, because I think she might be watching tonight. I'm happy to announce that we have a new member in our family. Riley Lynn McKinnon was born June 23rd. And she's a beautiful little girl, and we are just so happy to announce our granddaughter. So yeah, she's wonderful. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. I was hoping you would announce that. Another,
How could I not?
another proud grandparent. That's excellent. All right. Councillor Erickson, please.
Thank you. Sorry, my computer was in the sun and it got so hot I had to, it shut down on me. That's why I wasn't on until now. I had to shut it down, restart it, move to a place that is not so sunny. Anyway, it got really hot. So anyway, I just have one thing I'd like to bring up is, it goes toward Kevin. Is there any way that we can somehow clean the grasses from the curbing on at least the main street and a couple, like a block off main streets? It just looks pretty shabby when you're going up Main Street and you see all the grass growing around the flower boxes and along the curbs. Is there any way that we could hire maybe a student to do that for the summer? Or maybe you're planning on doing it? I don't know. I just was wondering what could be done on that aspect.
Okay.
For you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we will. I'll make a note of that and pass the message on to the crew, and we'll get that scheduled.
Thank you. It just makes it would make the town look so beautiful as it is, but it would just kind of clean up that area, especially where the flower boxes are and yeah, and the light posts. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Erickson. Councillor Tron, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick update with the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
The Chamber is to host a sidewalk sale on Saturday, August 21st. Time is 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The event will be in front of local businesses. For more information, you can contact Chamber Director Lorraine McDonald at the Artisan Addict. As well, just to remind everybody, the farmers market is still every Friday, June through to August from 9:30 to 2 p.m. 3rd and Wallace Street in downtown Hope. Our new EDO, Chantel, is also working with the Chamber and Ministry of Agriculture to bring some new ideas to the market. And I just want to finally wish everybody a happy and safe Canada Day this Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is Councillor Smith there? Dusty Smith.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to echo a little bit what Councillor Smith said there about the forest fires and stuff like that we got going on. Currently, I know BC Wildfire is working on that. Fire just up on Highway 3, and it's been a situation there that scared Sunshine Valley. Put a little perspective in how close we had something come to our community, and as well as another community as well. So I've seen other communities take advantage of putting a campfire ban before the province does. So I think, and I've had this discussion with Tom before, as well as actually one of the Yale Fire Chief is on staff with me at my business, and taking a proactive approach to not just following what the province says, but as what we should do as a district. And I think that's something we should need to get behind a little bit more. Even if we take a proactive approach to campfire bans, we do have two prominent campsites that are right in our district that if something ever happened, maybe we need to look at a proactive approach to it before the province steps in, because before they see the danger ratings. I just think it's something that we could look at as being, we don't have to follow their guidelines. We have stuff in our bylaws that lets us take that action a little bit beforehand to protect our community. And it's been approached to us, how come something hasn't been done already? And we're going into 49-degree weather in certain areas. And that's some of the most hottest weather we've ever seen. Everybody, myself included, have taken steps to protect my staff on shorting our hours, starting early, and doing that into things. So I think it's something that we should look at as a district, that we don't always have to follow the guidelines of the province, that maybe we step in earlier to be proactive instead of reactive. Especially coming into a long weekend. We got a long weekend ahead of us here, and I just hate to see something silly happen because of a mistake or something like that. But I think we need to be smart, make sure that the message is out there. I know Tom does a very good job of pushing the message on social media. The fire department itself pushes the subject that be careful, because it's something so simple as a cigarette, but can really affect this community. And I don't think we realize the situation behind it. Like, we had something that happened very, very close to us, and Sunshine Valley is very close, that the winds went the right way for them in that whole situation just up the mountains. So it hits close to home. I have water trucks on staff that went and worked that fire, and seeing pictures and watching them work the fire. It's something that can happen very, very quickly and unpredictable. And we have the Skagit Valley, we have Lake of the Woods, we have Teltiet, we have our Coquihalla campsite. So it's something to take into note, that we're surrounded by water, but we're also surrounded by forests. So I think we need to take this serious. Other than that, I have nothing else to report, other than it's going to be busy this upcoming weekend, and I hope everybody stays safe.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. John, did you have a comment to add there?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, what I'll
Yeah.
do is when Tom returns, I'll have him look into this, and we'll engage council in a discussion as far as any amendments to the policy they may wish.
And the local fire ban comes in this Wednesday, correct?
Again, the practice is in harmony with the province. That is correct.
Okay.
And just real quick on that, it's not to step on staff's toes or anything like that. That's just strictly
No.
a personal comment that's come to me, saying maybe we look at doing something earlier than later sometimes. And like I said, Tom and the whole fire department done a great job. I don't want any admits to that there haven't been a good job being done there. I'm just saying maybe we could be proactive as a district as whole. So thank you, John.
And if the need's there to change the time frame. Yeah, it's a good idea, Justy. Thank you. Moving on to permits and bylaws. Next item is the zoning amendment bylaw number 1507/2021 regarding 558 and 568 Park Street. The motion reads that the District of Hope zoning amendment bylaw number 1507/2021 to rezone the properties having a civic address of 558 Park Street and 568 Park Street from single family residential RS1 to ground-oriented multi-family residential RM2 be adopted this 28th day of June, 2021. I have a mover and a seconder. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Next item is a report from our Community Development Director, Mr. Gill, regarding the development variance permit at 19908 Silver Hope Road. Mr. Gill, please.
Your worship, as presented in the report, we went out for the notification for a front yard fence height variance from 1.2 to, I believe, 1.6, a difference of almost 40 centimeters, or close to 1.25 feet or a half. And the responses we've received are as attached or seen there.
Thank you. I'll read the submissions that I have. I am a next door neighbor to the person requesting the variance. Excuse me. I have absolutely no objection to the request. The proposed fencing will certainly improve the current view of the property and the whole street. The slight height change will be beneficial as the owner does store race cars in the front yard, which to this date have been hidden by the monstrous hedge he is currently taking down. Feel free to contact me. That's Kelly Berger. And then there was and a closed letter from the following neighbors that Randy Fatu, A. Parker, and Ian Williams are all okay with moving forward. And then there was one from Judy Henderson, to whom it may concern. In regards to this letter we received, we do not wish to have any high fences made in front of the homes in our area. As you do know, one will have, as you do, one you will have to do others, and we are not in favor of this. Thank you, Ed and Judy Henderson. So there's the one, that's all the submissions I have, unless there's any late submissions. No, all right. So the motion reads that council approves the issuance of a development variance permit in order to relax the front yard fence height from 1.2 meters to 1.6 meters, 68 meters on the property at 19908 Silver Hope Road, and further that the Director of Community Development be authorized to endorse the development variance permit. I have a mover and a seconder. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? One. Thank you. Carried.
Does Councillor Erickson want his name listed in opposition?
No, I'm not opposed.
Oh, just a bit of a delay. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Erickson, there's a delay there. Okay. You're in favor.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just want to make sure. So it's carried. Next item is for information correspondence, that for information correspondence list dated June 28, 2021 be received. Moved and second. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Next item is there's no other pertinent business. Moving to question period. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, council meetings are closed to the public. However, the public can email questions and or comments to the Director of Corporate Services, dbellingham@hope.ca. Our next regular council meeting will be Monday, July the 12th at 7 p.m. At this time, we have a resolution to proceed to closed meeting, that the meeting be closed to the public to consider matters pursuant to the community charter under the following sections. 91C, labor relations, re-personnel update. 91E, acquisition or disposition of land, redisposition of municipal owned lands. 91G, litigation or potential litigation, non-compliant land uses, and for the purpose of receiving and adopting closed meeting minutes. Moved, second, thank you. All those in favor? Carried.